Okay. You can start, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Guravani Prasharini Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Vashchatya Satarini Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jai Guru Deva Jaya Guru Jai Guru Deva Jaya Guru Jaya Srimad Bhagavatam Jaya Srimad Bhagavatam Nitai Gaura Pramanande Hari and I can just like I have just in the time that's my time and the stars of the time and the time but now I'm not the this come Garu Vachanam Langia Tipping Yaki Patana Hamba Krishna Chaitanya Krishna Narayana Namaskritana Chaivana Saraswati ask the praise of the Unity and Bhagavad to see where the two things they could work together. So, Hare Krishna, you are welcome to today's Bhagavatam Bhakti Vaibhava class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare
Krishna. Welcome. Hare Krishna. So, we are happy to come back to associate with Bhagavatam. Krishna himself is Bhagavatam, the literary incarnation of Krishna. Bhagavatam is literary incarnation of Krishna. So to associate with Bhagavatam is to purify our consciousness, is to bathe our intellects, bathe our ego, cleanse it in the ocean of transcendence. So we need this. And then in our last class, there was a lot about how the living entity or the non-devotees or the Griyamedis or the Fikamis live a miserable life, and in the end, they are accompanied by lots of lamentation, lamentation due to uncontrollable circumstances, though all is due to the influence of time. How the miserable living entity who has wasted his whole lifetime leaves the body. And when he leaves the body, what happens? How the constables of Yamaraj appear, arrest him, and take him to different levels of hells, and finally take him to Yamaraj, submit him to Yamaraj judgment. And we heard of how after it's being judged, the subtle body is trained on how to live in the new body that is going to, physical body that is going to acquire. A little training is given there. Then the soul there in the subtle body is sent, the soul along with the subtle body is sent to take shelter under the, after the training, under the semen of the male species for which is qualified to appear. And the male species will now transfer the soul in the subtle body into the female womb. And in the test tube of the female womb, a new physical body is developed. Then it comes out with it and it continues to live. So we got to the point where it was to be trained, and it was being trained to live in a particular body. Like if you had to come and as a hog, then some training is given to you. You have to come as a pigeon, how to function in that body before you are sent. Then when you are given the body with little comprehension, you arrive and you begin to operate, very fully, forgetting your previous. But here in this chapter 31, it is a continuation. Here, the living entity is now going to be sent. How is going to be sent into to take shelter of the semen of the male body, and how it will develop the new body. It's explained. So from verses 1 to 11, the different stages of the development of the body around the subtle body that has been transferred into the female's body through the semen, how the different limbs start to grow, the different limbs of the body start to grow and become manifest. The first day was manifest, the second day was manifest, the third day was manifest, until where all the major limbs are fully manifest. Then from verses 12 through to 21, we see that from verses 12, there are two kinds of souls that actually, one is the pious one and one is the impious. And the impious one, when it suffers in the womb of the mother, it does not come to any reasonable realization. It suffers and come out and begin to continue to live as the body dictates. But the second type is considered fortunate because he remembers, 10 births in his previous life while in the serious suffering condition. The suffering situation helped to transform his consciousness, purify him until he's able to see himself clearly. He's able to see himself in previous lifetimes, and he's able to see his present condition and how awkward it is. He becomes conscious. And in that the level of self-realization, he offers series of prayers. So verses 13 to 21 constitutes those prayers. The prayers the living entity who is fortunate, who has come to self-realization within the womb, makes very evolved prayers. And we can take lessons from them also. So those prayers are there, very beautiful. Can meditate on them, enter into the same mood. Purification is guaranteed. Yes, an attainment of the desired goal will also be guaranteed. So let us go through them. There'll be no too much of talk here as we read through the text we are going to see, and we'll just continue from there. Verse 1. This is actually a memorization verse also. One of the memorization verses, though the students know that they are supposed to deliver slokas, they are waiting. Even though they know they're supposed to deliver slokas and carry over is dangerous, they have carried over slokas from Canto 1 into Canto 2, added to Canto 3, and they are still adding. They are not making arrangement to deliver their slokas yet. But later that will become overload. And we are advising that the sooner you start memorizing your slokas and delivering them, the better for you. So this is a memorization verse. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Karmanan Daivane Trena Jantu Deho Papataye Sriya Pravista Udaram Umsoreta Kanasraya. Take again. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Karmana Daivane Trena Jantu Deo Papataye Sriya Pravista Udaram Umsoreta Kanasraya. Karmanam Daivane Trena Jantu Deo Papataye Sriya Pravista Udara Umsoreta Kanasraya. It's a slogan you used to memorize. The memorization verse, and it's very good for preaching. So the movement of the living entities. Translation. The personality of God has said, under the supervision of the Supreme Lord, and according to the result of his work, the living entity, the soul, is made to enter into the womb of a woman through the particle of male semen to assume a particular type of body. Under the supervision of the Supreme Lord and according to the result of his work. Under the supervision. So in other words, it is the Paramatma that is in charge of awarding the results of our activities here. All material activities, the result is being awarded by the Lord in form of the super soul dwelling in between, in within. And we have a lot of slokas in the Bhagavad Gita that support that. Upadrasta Anumantacha Bharata Bhukta Maheswara Paramatmeti Chapi Ukto Desmi Purusa Para. That the Lord is there with the individual soul as a super soul. As a super soul. And what is he doing? Is there as a witness and also is there to fulfill our desires. Upadrasta anumantacha. So for that purpose of being a witness and fulfilling our desire, permitter and fulfiller of our desire is there in the heart. So it is him that awards. It is the Lord that awards, as the Paramatma that awards the result of the living entity's activity. So this coming into the womb of a woman is all the arrangement of the Lord. But here is a situation that we had before, that in Bhagavad Gita 3:27, that the living entity is akarta. 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 What does that mean? That means it's non-doer. Prakriti kriya manani gunai karmani savasa ahankara vimudatma kataham itimayate kataham itimayate. The living entity is non-doer. So a big question arises here. How is it that if the living entity truly is a non-doer, why is he being punished for the things that he did not even do? Because in actuality, he is not the doer. According to the text, it's the three modes of material nature that are acting, but only due to bewilderment, he's thinking himself to be the doer of activities. So he did not do anything, only the three modes of material nature did act. So why is the living entity being punished, subjected to punishment? So this is the question we're asking you now. Madhuvan Prabhu, why is the living entity being punished? Why? Because according to that text, it is not the doer of activities. The activities are carried on by the three modes of material nature. Prakriti kriya manani gunai karmani savasa ahankara vimudatma kataham itimayati. So if he's not the doer of activities, why is he being punished? Is it that God is partial or is not just or what? What has happened? What is happening?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
The living entity on its own, they can rise above the three modes of material nature by choice. So by choice, they subject themselves to this, to be under this mode, and automatically the modes take effect. So since it's their free will, then they have to be punished because they have the option or the ability to rise above these three modes of material nature.
Okay, that's very good. Thank you very much. Rasavan Prabhu, can you give your contributions?
Jai. Hare Krishna, Radhava Pranam to you and all the great devotees. My contribution is that though the three modes of nature are in action, but they are in action with the desire created by the living entity. So though apparently the living entity seem not to be doing anything, and it is said that the three modes of nature are in action, but the most of nature's action are linked also with the desire of the living entity. Therefore, the living entity must bear some pinch of the action.
Okay, that's very good. The living entity must bear some pinch. It cannot be free because everything is related to his desires. Okay, he has the ability to become free, but
Yes.
he has no conditions. So he has not used his ability, God-given ability properly. Okay, that's very good. Jyoti Swarup Prabhu, who is with us but is engaged in other duties. Are you there? Okay. Jyoti Swarup is there and not there at the same time. Chitragati Putra Prabhu, are you there with us? If you are there, answer to this question. If you are not there, okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I wanted to catch you. I wanted to catch you.
Yes, I knew you would catch me. Even when you started, I was surprised you went to Rasaban. I knew you would catch me. You will come to me. But I think all as they have said it all. That's the same. The most of material nature are there. They are anything we can do without energy, we cannot do it. And we have more energies that will help you best do whatever you want to do, depending on how you want to do it. That is how the modes are there. So if you want to do goodness things, that's the energy that will better help you. So all those energies are there, but it is up to us. The choice to do it is on us. We accept the choice. So once we have a thought that I want to kill somebody, you need some energy and mood to be able to do it. And that is when the mode of ignorance comes to assist you to better do it perfectly and nicely. In some examples, when we go to we see some criminal cases, the manner in which the person did it, or even stealing, some some of the police or these days or court, they say that you did the thing very nicely. Yes, you are going to be punished. And some people, when they do something, they say, you don't know how to do it, right? You did it nastily, even though it was a criminal. Yes, all depends on this mode. So there's a manner to help you to do it, but the choice depends on us. So making that choice, taking that choice, or having that thought, that is why we should be punished. We should be punished. That's why Krishna punishes us, or the supreme judges or the supreme punishment punishes us and leaves us the mode. So the mode is simply there to help you, but the mode is not the distance. That's why we are punished. That's my little thought. Hare Krishna.
Hey, thank you very much. Thank you very much. But let us read the Bhagavad Gita 3:27 again. The spirit soul bewildered by the influence of false ego thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. So the question is, in actuality, the three modes of material nature that carry out the activity. So why is it that the individual soul is the one that is being punished?
Yes,
Because
even when Krishna
you did not do.
yes. Everything that we are doing, what we are doing here, we are learning about Krishna. There are those who are also not learning about Krishna. But at the end of the day, we give glory to Krishna, Guru and Krishna, that they did it. That has been our mood. But practically, devotee does it. If we should be practically honest, most of the things, it is practically we do it, but we still don't take it. But in the statement of even the quotation, it says under the influence. You are under the influence, right? Many times we are thinking that we did it alone, right? That is when we are claiming the whole distance. Because when one thinks it, he does the thing alone without the aid of anything. This is where Krishna is making us understand that anything we are doing, we did it in support or in a help with something. But most of the times, devotees or human beings want to take the glory or this thing alone. That's where Krishna is pointing to us. That we didn't do it alone. We did it with the aid of this. Therefore, we are not the doer. And of course, as far as energy is concerned, without energy, you can't do it. So we can say that we are not the doer. But in one sense, we are not the doer. But in one other sense, we are the doer. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Achinta Veda Veda Tattva will help us every time.
Okay.
That secret code. Achinta Veda Veda Tattva, simultaneously one and different, inconceivable.
Yes. So can I
okay. Huh?
Can I make a little contribution too?
Yes.
Yeah, it's one way and the other seen in this way. It's just like the cane that is used to whip the child, and then the superior whipping the child, and the child, in terms of any offense or mistake committed, the cane is whipping the child, but the child never sees the cane as bad at all. But it's the cane that is the direct applica. And then the punisher is just conducting the cane. So here, in one sense, the modes of nature are held to be the cane. But we are the culprits. That's why we are receiving it very badly. And then the supreme agent or the judge, they are the retributors. So in fact, though it seems we are not performing action, but the action by the desire was engineered by us. So the mode of action are just
thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. If a criminal is brought before a judge and is being sentenced, maybe somebody went and killed some people, maybe 5, 10 people, and is brought to the prison and is thrown into the prison, into the cell, then the other prisoners ask him, what did you do? What did you do that brought you here? Then he said, is the policeman that brought me, or is the judge that brought me here? Is the judge that brought me? Is it the judge that brought him there, or it is his own activities that brought him there?
Yes.
He will not accept it that he want to put the blame on somebody, that the judge had brought him there. You didn't do anything, then he just picked you among everybody and brought you there. You see? So the answer is in that same verse, Ahankara vimudatma. Ahankara vimudatma. That is why he was bewildered by the influence of false ego. So he began to act under the influence of false ego. And that has brought him this situation now. Even though he's not the doer, but he's acting under the influence of false ego. And being influenced by false ego, he began to do those activities, like a puppet in the hand of false ego. But he's going to take it because he himself, he tried to choose, he chose to act falsely. And therefore, he must be responsible for the reaction. So this is what is happening. And in Bhagavad Gita 7.5 said, Aparayam itastu ayam prakritim vidime param jivabhuta mahavao yayedam daryate jagat. That besides this, that means the material and the inferior and the spiritual, Almighty armed Arjun, there is another superior energy of mind, which comprises of the living entity, who are trying to enjoy the resources of material inferior nature. That attempt to try to enjoy the resources of inferior material nature has implicated him into this. And that is why in Bhagavad Gita 13:22, it is quoted that Purusha Prakriti Stohi Bhungte Prakriti Jam Guna Karanam Guna Samgosya Karanam Guna Samgosya. Due to his association with the modes, then is brought into this situation. So we should not blame anybody for our situation. We should blame ourselves. Here is a whimsical living entity who ignored the laws of God. He disregarded the laws of man. He disregarded the codes of conduct guiding different ashrams. He was a victim, whimsically trying to gratify his senses here and there. And he lamented at the end, and he's been brought for judgment, and he has been chastised severely. He has been exposed to all kinds of hell, including the one that the body was put into some machine, like sugarcane crushing machine. Something body was put into the machine, and it was operated. The machine was operated, and it was squeezed through the machine to the other side. But as the something body now, you will not die. It was squeezed through before he got to Yamaraju. So you have to be very careful what he thinks, what he say, anything like the police will say, whatever you say, you have the right to remain silent. For whatever you say can be used against you in the court of law. So he has been squeezed through different kinds of suffering before he has arrived there. And now he sees the video of his activities, and that for which is qualified, no argument, no single argument. The subtle body is now trained and is going to take a body. So let us read the purport. As to this taking of the body take place, the translation itself first, or the sloka itself first, said, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Karmana Devane Trena Jantu Deho Papataye Sriya Pravista Udaram Umsoreta Kanaswaya. The personality of God has said, under the supervision of the Supreme Lord and according to the result of his work, the living entity, the soul, is made to enter into the womb of a woman through the particle of the male semen to assume the particular type of body. Okay? So see, those who are involved, the Paramatma is directly involved in awarding him, and the result of his accumulated activities in the previous life are involved. So by that, he's qualified to take a particular body. The semen, the soul is sent into the semen of a male, species of that particular, for which he qualifies, then he's trained, then he's given the physical body there in the chest tube of the female. Okay, purport. Salika Prabhu, read the purport for us. For you, I don't need to test whether you are there or not, because anytime I test you,
I'm not able to read anything for now, Prabhuji.
Okay. Now we have a clearer picture of where you are now. It will be more clear later. Madhuban, the first student, can you please read for us? Madhuban is always speaking first.
Thank you very much. Thank you. The purpose, as stated in the last chapter, after suffering different kinds of hellish conditions, a man comes again to the human form of body. The same topic is continued in this chapter. In order to give a particular type of human form to a person who has already suffered hellish life, the soul is transferred to the stamina of a man who is just suitable to become his father. During sexual intercourse, the soul is transferred through the stamina of the father into the mother's womb in order to produce a particular type of body. This process is applicable to all embodied living entities, but it is especially mentioned for the man who was transferred to the Andas and Misra hell. After suffering there, when he who has had many types of hellish bodies, like those of dogs and hogs, is to come again to the human form, he is given the chance to take his part in the same type of body from which he degraded himself to hell. Everything is done by the supervision of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Material nature supplies the body, but it does so under the direction of the Super Soul. It is said in Bhagavad Gita that a living entity is wandering in this material world on a chariot made by material nature. The Supreme Lord, as Super Soul, is always present with the individual soul. He directs material nature to supply a particular type of body to the individual soul according to the result of his work, and the material nature supplies it. Here one word, Rata Kana Traya, is very significant because it indicates that it's not the stamina of the man that creates life within the womb of the woman. Rather, the living entity the soul, takes shelter in a particle of semen and is then pushed into the womb of a woman. Then the body develops. There is no possibility of creating a living entity without the presence of the soul simply by sexual intercourse. The materialistic theory that there is no soul and that a child is born simply by material combination of a man's and woman's semen is not very feasible. It is unacceptable. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this is very clear, self-explanatory. It is the Paramatma that supervises all the transaction and transfer of the individual soul from one stage to another, and it is supervised. And towards the end, we are made to see that the materialistic theory that there is no soul and that a child is born simply by material combination of the sperm and ovum is very feasible. But this kind of theory is what is used to justify abortion. It's what is used to justify the act of murder. Actually, they just use some words to cover the written. They bring some sweet-looking words to cover the written, but what they do as abortion is murder. They are murdering the soul because they are thinking that there is no soul, that at certain stage, only flesh is there. The soul has not entered. But in actuality, the soul is the nucleus around which the body forms. So the soul is there, the body is there, but the body is forming because the soul is already there in the center. The body is forming around it. But these scientists and their theory is that there is no soul there. So if you can just remove the lump of flesh, you are not doing anything. You are not committing any offense. So in that way, they call it a sweet name, abortion. And they are murdering souls. They are committing murder. And they are calling it abortion. So they say this is not feasible. It is unacceptable. Unacceptable by the devotees of the Lord, who knows what exactly is going on. Yes. Rasavan Prabhu, can you please read the next verse?
Okay, text 2. Kalalam Twekaratrena Pancharatena Buddham Tashaina tu Karakandu Vesyandamva Tata Param. Translation. On the first night, the sperm and ovum mixed, and on the fifth night, the mixture ferments into a bubble. On the 10th night, it developed into a form like a plum. And after that, it gradually turns into a lump of flesh, or an egg, as the case may be. Purport. The body of the soul develops in 4 different ways according to its different sources. One kind of body, that of the tree and plants, sprouts from the earth. The second kind of body grows from perspiration, as with flies, germs, and bugs. The third kind of body develops from eggs, and the fourth develops from an embryo. This verse indicates that after emulsification of the ovum and the sperm, the body gradually develops either into a lump of flesh or into an egg, as the case may be. In the case of birds, it develops into an egg. And in the case of animals and human beings, it develops into a lump of flesh. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You can see that this is very clear. Any form of abortion is murder. And eating of egg is the same thing as committing abortion. It's committing murder because the soul is already there. The soul is the nucleus around which the body is forming. So when you interrupt the progressive movement of the living entity, it is murder. And they call it attractive names, very attractive names, but it is actually murder. So we never agree with them. They think it's just flesh, it's just yolk of a egg. They don't understand that the soul is actually there. And that's why we don't agree with them. So from here, from this verse to verse 12 or verse 11, we are going to see how the body develops and what type of limbs develop within a day. But I think you have already seen the different grades of living entities. Those that come from perspiration, those that come from egg, those that come from embryos, and all that. So let's read the next verse. Salika Prabhu cannot be able to read according to him where he is. So Tamal Krishna Prabhu, you should take the next verse.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Nasinato sirodhaivyam bhavangriya yanga vriga nahalamasti kamani linga chidra bhavastrivi. In the course of months, a head is formed, and at the end of 2 months, the hand, feet, and other limbs take shape. By the end of 3 months, the nails, fingers, toes, body hair, bone, and skin appear. As do the organ of generation and the other aperture in the body, namely the eyes, nostril, eyes, ear, mouth, and anus.
Okay. When we say aperture, we mean different holes. The holes in the body, they manifest.
Okay.
So within 3 months, a lot manifests. You see, so if a body is a month old, even if it's a day old, and you decide to remove it, you are actually committing murder. Because the soul is the center, is the nucleus around which the limbs are developing. Without the presence of the soul, no limb will develop. Just like matter comes from life, and life comes from life. Matter doesn't come from life doesn't come from matter, but it's matter that comes from life. So let's carry on. Test number, is it number 3 of the next verse?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Jyotiswara Prabhu, can you read?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah. Prabhuji, there is no purport, so I will just read the sloka.
Just read the sloka for us.
And translation, okay. Sloka number 3. Masena tu siro.
It has been read. Prabhu, it has been read.
Then
the next
then
sloka
fourth.
you was going to read.
4th, okay. Chaturbhir dhatava sapta sapta panchabhi chutudadava shadabhi jara vita kruksho bhramyati dakshine. Translation: within 4 months from the date of conception, the 7 essential ingredients of the body namely child, blood, flesh, fat, bone, marrow, and semen come into the existence. At the end of 5 months, hunger and thirst make themselves felt, and at the end of 6 months, the fetus enclosed by the amnion begins to move on the right side of the abdomen. Purport: when the body of the child is completely formed at the end of 6 months, the child, if he is male, begin to move on the right side, and if he is female, she tries to move on the left side.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this is a little secret. If a child, if Mataji is pregnant for 6 months, and if you see movement of the embryo, you see the movement on the right side, that means it's a male. And if it's on the left side, movement is on the left side, that means it's a female. So you can predict on the basis of the Vedic authority, you can predict accurately. When they see the first movement, if it is on the left side, oh, say this is a female. If it's on the right side, oh, this is a male. Everyone, they will be surprised. You have not done any scanning. How are you able to know this? This is the science. We see where the embryo is moving. It's moving on the right, and the other one is moving on the left. So this is it. But the soul has been trapped there and is developing a new physical body there, according to the species for which is qualified to come true. It's a human being. In this case, we are dealing with the human being. So our analogies are based on the human beings. Let's read on, because these are similar verses. Technical terms are there, but basically we understand what they are saying. The next verse.
Can I continue?
Yeah.
Okay. Matrujanadhana panar eda ehada dhatura samet sammate shete vinyu mutra yogarte sajan turjantu sambhave. Translation: deriving its nutrition from the food and drink taken by the mother, the fetus grows and remains in that abdominal residence of stool and urine, which is the breeding place of all kinds of worms. Purport: in the Markandeya Puran, it is said that in the intestine of the mother, the umbilical cord, which is known as Ampaya Apyayani, joins the mother to the abdomen of the child, and through this passage, the child within the womb accepts the mother's assimilated foodstuff. In this way, the child is fed by the mother's intestine within the womb and grows from day to day. The statement of Markandeya Puran about the child's situation within the womb is exactly corroborated by modern medical science, and thus the authority of the Puranas cannot be disapproved, as it's sometimes attempted by the Mayavadis philosophers. Since the child depends completely on the assimilated foodstuff of the mother during the pregnancy, there are restrictions on the food taken by the mother. Too much salt, chili, onion, and similar food is forbidden for the pregnant mother because the child's body is too delicate and new for him to tolerate such pungent food. Restriction and the precautions to be taken by the pregnant mother, as enunciated in the Smriti, scriptures of Vedic literature, are very useful. We can understand from the Vedic literature how much care is taken to beget a nice child in society. The Garbhadan ceremony before sexual intercourse was compulsory for person in the higher grades of society, and it is very scientific. Other processes recommended in the Vedic literature during pregnancy are also very important to take care of the child.
Krishna. To take care of the child is the primary duty of the parents, because if such care is taken, society will be filled with good population to maintain the peace and prosperity of the society, country, and human race. Okay. So this is very interesting. That means pregnant women, once they cross the 6 months, an umbilical cord develops and is attached to the child. The child develops attached to the womb of the mother. And from that, the child begins to feed. Therefore, pregnant women are advised to take food in the mode of goodness. So this influence begins right from the conception, the point of conception, to the time of delivery. That form the foundation of the child's attitude and mentality. So we have to be very careful with what the pregnant woman eats. Pregnant women should eat food in the mode of goodness, because the child is already in a very delicate situation in the womb. And whatever she eats, that is what the child also eats. It is through her, through the umbilical cord. So she has to be careful what is not too much salt, not onion, not too much pepper, not just, she has to eat moderately. Food in the mode of goodness that will nourish the child automatically. And by extension, since the character of the child is formed right from his experiences from the womb, it is advised that we do what is called Garbhadana Samskara. It is something compulsory in the Vedic literature for those who are evolved in the society, those who are the high persons in the society. They don't joke with Garbhadana Samskara. Otherwise, we get Varna Samskara. Yes, if we don't do Garbhadana Samskara, then we can attract souls that are very, very sinful, or those who can become demons. So a lot of things are considered. The time that the copulation takes place, the time, the place, the jagyas performed before the time of mating, all are considered by civilized men in the Vedic culture before a child is invoked. Then when it enters the womb, the woman has to be very cautious the type of food she eats, because the child partakes in it, and on like that. So the whole science starts from before conception, the consciousness of the parents before conception. That will determine the type of soul that will come through them. So we have to be careful. We have to put these things into practice. If we have not been practicing it before, we have to consider practicing it, especially if we want children that are going to be useful, children that are going to be devotees. We have to follow the science. Then we'll get the best out of it. That is it. The Vedic process. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
My question is, haven't done marriage ceremony. Why should one have to endeavor again Garbhadan ceremony? And if you are going to do Garbhadan ceremony, is it for each child before we conceive for each child? So it's a bit confusing.
Oh, anyway, there shouldn't be any confusion there. If you look at it this way, if you look at it this way, that the marriage ceremonies that we conduct, they are to fulfill traditional rights, socio-cultural rights You are fulfilling traditions, trying to please the parents, trying to make sure that they both agree that they are coming. That is one aspect of it. But for the child, the type of child that you are going to bring out into the world, the type of child you are going to invoke, you are going to attract into the world, is another subject matter entirely. So both are compulsory, or both are important. Both are important. And complementarily, the best come out of the union. Okay, you may do nice ceremonies to fulfill traditions and culture and all that, okay, these people come together legally under the permission of the parents. But you might invoke a very demoniac soul as your son if you don't consider the Garbhadana samskara. If you don't consider the time of your meeting, of copulation, if you don't consider the circumstances, if you don't consider the environment, if you don't consider the consciousness, then you are going to invoke something different. Even though you are legally married, marriage ceremonies are done, you give birth to demoniac children. With all the nice ceremonies to satisfy the tradition, still you attract very sinful souls. That's why in the story of Kadamamuni and in the money of Kasyapa and Aditi, the times he approached the husband for copulation was the wrong time. And the husband knew that this is a wrong time. This is his official wife. It's his wife. They've done all the ceremonies, all the rituals. She approached him at the wrong time. And because it was an influence by the universal energies, he couldn't refuse it. Then he had to succumb. Then they brought twins that are terror, the Ranayaksha and the Rankasipo. And before that happened, there were in the meters, there were signs, universal signs that hey, great demons are taking birth here on earth. Great demons are taking birth. That means there is sex at an improper time and place. That's why we are advised to avoid sexual intercourse in the evening when day and night are about to meet. That is the time that hobgoblins, disembodied beings of all kinds, they are moving around, including Lord Shiva and the disciples. And if Lord Shiva disciples see you somewhere trying to copulate, some of them who are disembodied may decide to take a body and using that opportunity. Then they say you have invoked them, then they enter through and they become your son. The character from the beginning to the end, it will be horrible. You see? So these things, they work complementarily together to bring us the best results. So let us try to observe them as much as possible, individually and collectively. Also, we encourage that people observe Garbhadana Samskara if we want Putra, the child that is going to free us from the hell called Pu. Otherwise, we attract in Akasipo disciples, and they will come and terrorize more. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah. Let's go to the next verse, please.
Hare Krishna, Shaitan Prema Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Please accept my respectful obeisances of Lord Shri Prabhupada, glory to Shri Gurudev.
Glory to you.
Could you explain the difference between the influence that you just described that was influencing Mother Devahuti, Kasyapa Muni and Devahuti's story, and the influence, Aditi's influence that you were describing now, that it was as a result of the influence of the higher beings. The living entities also is pushed by some influence to act. Earlier in your explanation, you have described chapter 3, verse 21, of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says that the material nature acts. So the living entity just submit according to his previous karma. So now, how do we differentiate this influence that Aditi is a case, and that of the influence that the living entity has to engage in activity sometimes, talking particularly in terms of progeny, you find out that sometimes someone is so influenced that he couldn't control himself. We could call it lust, we could call it any name, but apart from those who are addicted to sense gratification, sometimes you see living entities, even in spiritual life, get strongly pushed to or attracted to have a relationship with a woman. How do you explain these influences and as different from it? Because if I understand you correctly, what you are trying to say is that that case was not lost. It was higher devas or higher influence. So how do you differentiate these two influences?
Anyway, it will be dangerous to try to differentiate them, and it might cause a lot of problem trying to differentiate them. But looking at the pastime from the pastime point of view of the Lord, if the Lord wants to perform pastimes, powerful pastimes, sometimes he chooses his devotees. He does not perform pastimes with demons. He chooses devotees. And here the people involved, Jaya and Vijay, even though they are coming to operate as demons, they were his gate men. So he has to arrange that they come through a qualified parent also, who are also very highly evolved. So, but then to play the pastime, he arranged that influence took place at that time. The devotee got so influenced that even though she's a great devotee, that was the time she wanted to have sex. And even though her husband tried to remind her, she did not. So some activities are directly under under the direction of the Lord as pastime. So in such situation, even a pure devotee can act as if irrationally, and the thing happened before his eye clear. But devotees' activities are under the arrangement of or under the superintendent of the internal potency of the Lord. So that happens. But to the non-devotees, their activities are not directly under the influence of the internal potency. Rather, it is the external potency. It is Maya arranging through the three modes of material nature to fulfill their karma. So, yes, the influence of the soul that is coming, the mission of the soul that is coming, and also the karma of the individuals who are here. These factors are all combined together before something is decided by the superior authorities. So ordinarily, I would say there's a distinction between the devotees' operations and the non-devotees' operations. Devotees' operations are directly, strictly conducted by Maya and by the internal potency, while the non-devotees' activities are strictly conducted by the external potency of the Lord. So this is how it happens. The technical details, there are so many other factors that are in play that we are not having access to, that we cannot explain, that are not comprehensible to us. The ones we can comprehend, those are the ones we are trying to explain. But if you refine the thing further, you see that there are final laws that are playing it out, which we don't have idea of, that are inconceivable to our immediate understanding. So let's limit it to the ones that we can comprehend here and take it from there. And from that point of view, I would say yes, when the Lord wants a particular thing to happen as a pastime, he chooses his devotees to play the roles and influences them and helplessly acts. And he also uses the opportunity to use them to teach the world that, yes, whoever you are, you can fall into the influence, divine higher influence. So you should therefore pray that you should fall into the influence of the internal potency and not the external potency. So in all circumstances, be careful and be prayerful, so that the divine energies will use you for something positive, and not that material nature use you on a lower level. So we can try to juggle words on it here and there, but there are many other factors in play that are incomprehensible to us now here. But this is what I can say for now.
Anyway, thank you very much, Prabhuji.
But you can also give some contribution. You share with us too what you feel about it.
Your explanation sounds to me like a typical Nigerian man's philosophy. I'm sorry if that is too crude an example, but I'm trying to put it in the context, because an average Nigerian man will say that just pray for everything. Yes, and we understand that everything has to be prayed for. One has to be in the prayer mode always. The devotional process also requests, as one of the process of devotional service, we should pray. But there are factors, like you rightly said, behind, and there are responsibility. And when we look at what is the responsibility of the living entities, because when we say the word devotees, sometimes there could be confusion, because someone who has taken to the process of devotional service, even for one day, is a devotee, and one who is taken to the process for 10 years also is a devotee. And we all know that devotional service also is at different levels. Talking about this, the reason I'm asking this question is actually basically because I have a practical experience some 20, 30 years ago. I had the Bhakti godbrother who were together in the temple, and I was the one in charge of the cooking then. And whenever I cook, when he wants to punish me, he will come to the kitchen after I finish cooking, before offering to the deities. He will come and pick the food and eat, and tell me Krishna is through the mouth of the Brahmanas. He has not even taken the first initiation then, but he said he is a Brahmana. And he claims that I don't know where he's coming from. Of course, we have heard also that we may not be able to fully understand the level of those who have come into the process of devotional service. So this devotee will come, and then we'll take some of the food sometimes, and I'll have to start cooking all over again, because at that moment, whatever he has tasted, I can offer it to Krishna. And coming back to the example of the sex life, impregnating a woman and begetting a child, if we explain that the process of just like the example you gave, that it is influenced by the higher responsibility, without explaining that the individual soul also desire is being fulfilled by Krishna, then it becomes as if anyone can just be under the influence and claim not being responsible. So the area I'm trying to emphasize is the responsibility of the soul in whatever happens, because in the story of Aditi and the Kasepa Muni, even though she is acting in that capacity, there was this primary instruction that says that she was desirous, and her husband chastises her for doing that. So the fact that she's been influenced by higher authorities is as a result of the pastimes of the Lord, which we understand. But it should be also understood that the Lord does not impose without correlating it with the desire of the devotees. Because when we look at the stories behind that pastimes, there are several activities that has happened, like you rightly said. So that's what I wanted to be emphasized, the responsibility of the devotees.
Yeah, thank you very much. We are responsible for our actions, so we have to refine our actions according to direction of the sastras. Krishna has come for this purpose. He makes all kinds of incarnations. He takes different kinds of forms. He sends his representatives. He descends as scriptures, and he's always making arrangements for us to refine our consciousness to eventually know that Jivira Swarupa Haya Krishnera Nitya Dasa. That is our position. And if we are able to eventually realize that and begin to function on that platform, our journey of going back home back to God has started. So yes, responsibility is there individually, and we have to be responsible. We should be ready to take responsibility for our actions. And it is by that dint of that responsibility that somebody is born into the family of a Brahmana, even though it's a spiritual. Another one is born into the family of a militia. Another one is born into a suffering situation. Another one is born into a very aristocratic family. So responsibility is always there. And whether we try to take it consciously or we try to avoid it, thinking that we are like we are ostrich. We put our head in the, because they are not seeing me, I'm not seeing them, they are not seeing me. You are being seen by the universal administrators. Proper arrangement will be made for you to get the adequate reaction. So we have to refine our desires, we have to refine our activities, and we have to be very, very, very conducted according to the scriptural injunctions. Otherwise, as Krishna said in Gita, Ya sastra vidim musrijya, vartate kama karataha, na sa siddhima vabnuti, na sukam, na paramgati. Though we know that it's actually very difficult to overcome the lower self, yet we have to make constant endeavor and take more shelter of Krishna, because Krishna says, material nature, strong as it is my external energy. On your own, on our own, we cannot surmount it. Rasavan, is it true? On our own, we cannot surmount it. Rasavan, is it true? On our own, we cannot surmount it. We can never surmount material nature. We cannot. It's not possible. Dhamma Krishna will tell you that right there, right where you are. Tell Rasavan that you cannot surmount it. But if you take shelter of Krishna, because Krishna is, by his Paramatma feature, is arranging for these reactions. If you take shelter of him, he can still arrange for you to come out. He will give you the strength. He will guide you. He will guide you from within, and he will show you all, he will give you all the necessary facilities for you to come out. So this is going on there. So responsibility is there. You cannot rule it out. But on special occasions, if the Lord wants to use somebody for pastime, it influences the situation also. That influence comes also based on some desires you have, as Salika Prabhu was pointing out. The mother desired, and it was fulfilled, and they were choosing as instruments based on those desires. So we have to refine our desire. We have to constantly be very alert on what we desire and therefore what we want to do. And before you do anything, think twice first, so that you don't implicate ourselves. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So the next verse, Salik Prabhu, you can talk now. At me, you can read also.
I don't want to read. I'm on strike.
Okay. Chitraketu Putra Prabhu.
Let me read. I'm only pulling your leg. Prabhu, I think you need to be attentive to the time notification because I was outside. I was online for 15 minutes from normal time that you announced initially. And I was there alone. Nobody was around for 15 minutes. I had to go out thinking that.
What time was that?
By 10 o'clock local time, I was 9 o'clock your time. I was there for 15 minutes. I waited for 15 minutes and nobody was coming. So I left for another engagement. Then I saw your message about 10 minutes after that the class has been pushed for 1 hour forward. So that was why I was not able to speak that time because I had to come back from where I went to be able to.
Okay, I think, please, let us rectify this timing right now. What time should we start? Because the Bhakti Sastri people, they finish by 9 o'clock. But, you know, being African people, when we say 9, sometimes they chop some 5 minutes into it. So what time should we start? Let us fix it today and make it consistent.
I think last week we said that we should start at 8 o'clock, and that is when I don't know whether the 8 o'clock is for only Sundays or what.
Okay,
this morning
it was only for that day because that day Bhakti Sastri did not come.
Maybe we can discuss it after the class so that because I can see that we are live now. Just observe that we are on live, so and somebody might be listening, so we don't disrupt the flow of the class. I just noticed now that we are live.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so let us go on, please. Thank you very much for drawing attention. The next
test
verse.
number
6.
Number 6.
Is this 6 or 7?
6.
Let's go fast.
Okay, 6. Primebi Saravanugaha Saukom Maria Pratikshanam Morsham Apnoti Uru Kleshas Tatratya Kshuditai Mohu. Beaten again and again all over the body by the hungry worms in the abdomen itself. The child suffers terrible agony because of his tenderness. He thus becomes unconscious moment after moment because of the terrible condition. The miserable condition of material existence is not only felt when one comes out of the womb of the mother, but is also present within the womb. Miserable life begins from the moment the living entity begins to contact his material body. Unfortunately, we forget this experience and do not take the miseries of birth very seriously. In Bhagavad Gita, therefore, it is specifically mentioned that one should be very alert to understand the specific difficulties of birth and death. Just as during the formation of this body, we have to pass through so many difficulties within the womb of the mother. At the time of death, there are also many difficulties. As described in the previous chapter, one has to transmigrate from one body to another, and the transmigration into the bodies of dogs and cocks is especially miserable. But despite such miserable conditions due to the spell of Maya, we forget everything and become enamored by the present so-called happiness, which is described as actually no more than the counteractions to distress.
Present so-called happiness. Present so-called happiness conducted by the hard struggle for existence, working very hard and making so many things, building so many things, and doing all kinds of creation. It's just no more than a counteraction of distress. Material civilization means trying to counteract distress. That's all. And despite all the efforts being made in that direction, they have not succeeded in counteracting distress. All the creations you see, all the airplanes, all the machines, all the industries, they're just elaborate arrangement, futile arrangement to trying to counteract the distress. The actual distress is birth, old age, disease, and death. And we've not been able to counteract it. No way. We only try to prolong it, shift it forward, and shift it, push it a little bit backward. All the attempts we have been making in the material world, just to push it backward a bit. So this is it. Just trying to counteract, materialism, just trying to counteract distress and miseries and perplexities is generated by material nature. That is all. The only means to counteract distress, they can actually be counteracted. But the only means to counteract it is to surrender to the master of the superintendent of nature. And that's why Krishna said, it's my divine energy, the superintendent of material world, the superintendent of police in the material world. It's material nature. So it's very, very difficult. He has stringent rules and regulations. No sub-regulations, minor ones, both physical and subtle. So to surmount, to overcome her, one has to be very, 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 you cannot do it on your own. Because it's bigger than us. She's more experienced than each and every one of us. We are jiva, we are tiny souls who are covered by material nature ourselves. So to come out of it means we have to take shelter of someone stronger, someone who is the controller of material nature itself. And that is the formula. Mam eva ye prapadiante, mayam etam tarantite. Krishna said it. And in 1858 also, he said it. Ma chita sarvadurgane, ma prasada tarisyasi. Attach etwam ahankara, nasrusyasi vinankshyasi. Attach etwam ahankara, nasrusyasi. But Machita Sarvadogani, you will overcome all if you surrender unto me. But if you do not want to surrender and want to act through your force to go, you will be lost. You'll be taken to a deeper level of confusion. This is what is going on. So the formula for extricating ourselves from the clutches of material miseries is not by these external arrangements that modern civilization is making. It is by surrendering to Krishna, taking shelter of him, acting under his direction. Then we become transferred from the influence of the external energy into that of the internal energy, and we get our security. So that is it. Very beautiful.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Please permit me to draw your attention back to the text number 1. I want to connect it with a question to this. In the text number 1 of this verse, Lord Krishna was speaking, Lord Kapila Dev was speaking. The personality of God has said, under the supervision of the Supreme Lord, and according to the result of his work, the living entity, the soul, is made to enter into the womb of a woman through the particle of male semen to assume a particular type of body. By this explanation of this text, it indicates that the semen is not the soul. The soul just uses the semen as a vehicle.
Yes.
To get into this material.
It takes shelter of the semen.
It takes shelter, just like living entity is living in, soul is living in the material body, generally. Mm-hmm. So you were explaining on that test that scientists says that the flesh, that the living entity is not existing from a particular time, only after some time that this soul is present. So therefore they commit murder in the name of abortion. Now, my question is, the soul enters through the passage of the semen. It means that the semen is material, the soul is spiritual, right? By this test. Am I correct, Prabhu? Okay,
Yes,
then.
carry on. It's material, but it's very fine material.
Yes. So it means that the soul, the semen is not the soul.
Yes.
So if the semen is not the soul, it is said after if the semen and the ovums of the mother mixes together at that moment of copulation, and within 5 days, the different parts of the body start forming.
Yes. That means
So
at that
now,
time, when they start to mix together, because the soul is already inside the semen, and that has now mixed with the ovum now.
thank you very much. So my question I want to ask, the soul is not the semen. At what time does the soul, there is something I want to hear, I want to understand. At what point does the soul enters into the semen? Because the semen is not the soul, and the semen is always formed in the human body. So at what point does the soul enter into the semen?
After being trained by Yamaraj now, after the subtle body has been trained by Yamaraj, it is sent. The soul is sent to take shelter of the semen of a male species.
Does the soul take shelter of the semen before copulation or after copulation?
The mystical entrance, I was not there, but if we go about it, critically, you see that the soul takes shelter during copulation. That particular soul will come at the time of conception. That means, or at the time when the semen is to be transferred. That's why the consciousness of the parents attract a particular soul. When sex life is being indulged, at that time, the souls that are qualified, they are directed by higher forces into different directions, and that at the appropriate time, they just enter the particular, take shelter of the particular semen that they are qualified for, under the arrangement of mystical arrangement of the super soul.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think you've touched what I wanted to mention, because when you were explaining that, I could not speak, but the way it is explained and the test, if one is not conscious enough, one might be, when we look at the creation from the Bible context, it says that the body was formed, and then the Lord breathed soul into the body. So in other words, the body was there, and the soul was breathed into the body. And then when you talk about the sperm, the spermatozoa, and it's not the soul enters there. So the question then is, the scientist does not know what time the soul enters into the sperms. So, but the devotees know when that happens. And that is what I wanted you to highlight, which you just mentioned. It is the soul is already existing. It's not born at any time. It's ever existing, because it's part and parcel of the ever existing Supreme. So according to the consciousness of the living entities, it attracts different entities at different times for the different experiences it goes through, just like every other activities that we engage in. And this is important because sometimes someone says he's causing somebody to be fortunate or to be unfortunate. And people say that words are very powerful, but beyond the word is the consciousness that is giving the word. So that consciousness at that moment, when the soul desires according to his consciousness, the soul comes into that particular body at that time, because Yamaraj is already having all of those souls waiting for who is going to be. So that point is what I wanted to highlight, that the soul enters into the spermatozoa at that time of copulation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That means a lot of souls are hanging Waiting in the waiting room.
Waiting for an opportunity. Any slightest opportunity, they end that.
So if you are not careful and you go and do it at the wrong time, some terrible soul who wants to cause harm can just enter, sex life at this time in the evening when ghosts and elementals are moving. Oh, okay. You want me? You're looking for me? I'm the one. Yeah.
This clarification is very important. It's very important because it is based on these things, as Prabhu Salika was explaining, that the scientists and the doctors who does abortion, at certain time when a lady goes to the hospital for abortion, they don't want to do it because they believe at that time the body has been formed, therefore the soul is in. But let's say before 1 month or 3, or let's say when it is even 1 month, they believe that the body is not completely formed. But this clarification makes us understand that the soul comes in right when there is intercourse. So the soul is already there. So when you commit abortion, you have denied the soul. It's like you have taken a life from taking place. Yes. So it is a sin. So they usually think that the soul has not entered, therefore body has not been formed based on the Bible, because the Bible says that after the Lord formed the whole thing before he breathed in. So once the whole body has not been formed yet, it's not completely formed, there's no breathing or a soul has not entered. And they think then it is not a sin to abort the body or the distance. So thank you for the clarification. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Salikaji, for drawing our attention.
Thank you, teacher. And it is also the reason why Srila Prabhupada condemned contraceptives, because people, when they engage in sex life and immediately they take contraceptives, they think, okay, I have not committed anything. Even at that moment, by that moment, for just even not one month, like Chitra Prabhu was saying, 10 seconds after that copulation, and you take contraceptives to avoid, you're already killing a soul. That's why Prabhupada condemned contraceptives very strongly.
And the killer of the soul, whoever it may be.
The world of the faithless, full of darkness.
Enter into the darkest region of ignorance.
Yes. It's even also those who use, excuse me to say, to use condoms, all of that. They also, in one way or the other, killing us or preventing things that is happening. So
they don't want to take responsibility. So if you don't want responsibility, don't have sex. But the non-devotees don't understand this. Even among the doctors, it is the evolved ones who think that even one more time, the soul can enter. The crude ones, they think that it is when the child come out of the womb. When the child come out of the womb, that the soul enter, the grossest among them. They want to subtract something from the reality so that they can create some theory and get some money out of it. Business. So thank you very much. Let's go for that, please. Next verse, please, Chitra Putra.
Hare Krishna. So this next verse 7. Katu Tikshnosna Lavana Roksham Ladibi Urbana Matre Buktai Upasprita Sabangotita Vidana. Translation: owing to the mother's eating bitter, pungent foodstuffs, or food which is too salty or too sour, the body of the child incessantly suffers pains which are almost intolerable. Purport. Okay. All descriptions of the child's bodily situation in the womb of the mother are beyond our conception. It is very difficult to remain in such a position, but still the child has to remain because his consciousness is not very developed. The child can tolerate it. Otherwise, he will die. That is the benediction of Maya, who endows the suffering body with the qualifications for tolerating such terrible tortures. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any point on this? Attention to it. Okay. The child tolerates because his consciousness is not all that developed. So development of consciousness comes along with the development of the body also. Is that what it means?
Yes.
Yes, that is what it is. It is meaning. Yeah, because and he says that Maya gives a benediction. That is the merciful benediction of Maya for the soul's consciousness not to fully develop. Because if it becomes fully developed, it cannot tolerate the circumstance or the situation or the position where he is. He becomes fully aware. When he's fully developed, means that he can fully bear pain. He can fully sense or perceive much pain. So I think that for the development of the consciousness, it is already there, but it's not fully. Means that you will not sense so much. Yes, that is what I think. Hare Krishna.
Okay. I think that's the reason why they used to circumcise the male child when they are young.
Yes, yes.
Because that time they don't feel so much pain as if they grow beyond that stage.
Yes.
Yeah. Even in education, when you are growing, even though the soul is there, the soul in a child's body find it difficult to comprehend things. So the comprehension power is low until you go through crèche, gradually to primary school. They still, some things, if you talk them, they are too big for them to comprehend until you come to primary 6, until you get to class 1, and the higher you are going, the more you are comprehending. Okay. Recording is paused by Salika. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. The recording is paused. The recording is paused.
I didn't pause anything.
Or is it in my own computer? Maybe it's in my computer. Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. We have to be conscious. We have to be conscious. Whether the consciousness is developed or not developed, the soul is there. So there is no justification for committing any abortion. It is barbaric. It is not abortion, it is murder. And all those who are doing it, material nature will give them the appropriate reaction at the right time. Hare Krishna. Next verse, please. This time, Madhubanji.
Hare Krishna. Odina Savita Tasmi Ancheta Bhai Havrata Aste Kritva Sira Kuksho Bhugna Prisa Siru Daraha. Translation. Placed within the amnion and covered outside by the intestine, the child remains lying on one side of the abdomen. His head turned towards his belly, and his back and neck arched like a bow. Purport. If a grown-up man were put into such a condition as the child within the abdomen, completely entangled in all respects, it will be impossible for him to live even for a few seconds. Unfortunately, we forget all this suffering and try to be happy in this life, not caring for the liberation of the soul from the entanglement of birth and death. It is an unfortunate civilization in which these matters are not plainly discussed to make people understand the precarious conditions of material existence. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, it is an unfortunate civilization. Why is it that the present civilization does not discuss these matters? Madhuban, why? Why is it that the present civilization is not discussing these matters?
They don't want to discuss it because they like to do abortion, and when they believe that the soul is not in the womb, it's a kind of a psychological justification. When you want to commit a crime, like those days when they killed, like you want to kill an animal and eat now. Psychologically, it's good if you believe that the animal does not have soul. So they give themselves a kind of psychological relief, so that they can
So it's
continue.
ignorance now, ignorance. They are ignorant. They are ignorant. And also with the living entities, we are forgetting so soon what we passed through in the womb. We forget so soon. Because imagine you are there in the womb, inside stool and urine. And with all kinds of, the mother's womb is the abode of all kinds of germs and worms. And you are inside there, you suffer so much, you cannot breathe, you suffer like anything else. As you come out, you forget. This forgetfulness is also a pointer to the powerful influence of the illusory energy of God, the bewildering potency of the Lord. It bewilders you and keep you in ignorance so that you can absorb yourself in the activities here. If you become too conscious, you cannot function properly to fulfill your karma. So that covering is needed. As Krishna says, Sarvasya Chaham Vriddhi Sanivistu Mataha Smriti Gyanam Apohanamcha. That forgetfulness is also granted by the super soul. The super soul plus the powerful influence of material nature gives the living entity who has just passed through that suffering covered. And also the external environment he came into, the pampering he comes to see. Because when he comes out, he cries. He forced to cry heavily. But he started to pamper him and like this, oh, don't worry, everything is okay. This is a very nice place. See your brothers, see your sisters, see me. You are here, you are welcome to this place. You are welcome. Everybody come and give you gifts, pampering you, making you feel that you have come to a nice place. But you are welcome to the prison. That is it. Then in the process, material nature just help to cover you. And the soul also, the super soul also gives his forgetful energy too, to support material nature so that you can be covered and begin to function like this. The covering potency of Maya come into play. That which makes all the lower living entities to feel that they are very okay and satisfied. That will make Indra to feel that he is not ready to go back to the heavens to resume his duty. That potency, that covering potency is at work here. And it manifests in form of ignorance. And that ignorance covers everybody, including the modern civilization and those who are conducting it. So it's not surprising. Hare Krishna. Next verse. Jyoti Swarup Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, verse is it?
Akalpa Swanga.
Yes. 9. Akalpa Swanga Chestam Yam Shakuntam Iva Panjare Tatra Labda Smruti Devam Karma Janma Shatodavam Smarandi Dharma Nuschaswam Sharma Kim Nam Vindate. Translation: the child thus remains just like a bird in a cage, without freedom of movement. At that time, if the child is fortunate, he can remember all the troubles of his past 100 births, and he cries wrenchedly, what is the possibility of peace of mind in that condition? Purport: after birth, the child may forget about the difficulties of his past lives. But when we are grown up, we can at least understand the grievous torture undergone at the birth and death by reading the authorized scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam. If we do not believe in the scriptures, that is a different question. But if we have a faith in the authority of such descriptions, then we must prepare for our freedom in the next life. That is possible in this human form of life. One who does not take heed of these indication of suffering in human existence is said to be undoubtedly committing suicide. It is said that this human form of life is life is the only means for crossing over the nescience of Maya or material existence. We have a very efficient boat in this human form of a body, and there is a very expert captain, the spiritual master. The scriptural injunction are like favorable wind. If we do not cross over the ocean of the nescience of material existence, in spite of all these facilities, then certainly we are all intentionally committing suicide. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. When we are young, our consciousness is not so developed, so we forget. That is okay. But what of when we grow up? When we grow up, the forgetfulness is still there, and it has become even more complicated. But there is a chance. There is a chance. And what is that chance? You have opportunity as a human being to hear from scriptures. Krishna arranges to meet you through the scriptures, through his representatives, through the temple, through the availability of the Paramparam system. Yet you don't take advantage of it. That means such a person is not fortunate enough to connect. Is not yet a fortunate soul. But the fortunate souls, they have this connection, they come in contact with the scripture, they come in contact with Krishna, they come in contact with the pure devotees and the temple and the deity worship and Harinam Sankirtan, and they take advantage of it and get purified. And this is very important because if a soul evolving have not gotten the chance of contracting devotional service or practicing devotional service, there is no possibility of him making proper use of this human form of life. Because as we have heard before, the human form of life is a bad bargain. With it, you can go down. With it, you can go up. It's a bad bargain. With your senses, if properly channeled, you can go up. And if improperly channeled, you can go down. With the mind, if properly channeled, you can go up. Or improperly channeled, you can go down. With your intelligence, with your ego, like that. Activities generally, therefore the body is a bad bargain. With carelessness, trying to romanticize, trying to enjoy the senses of the body, you can go down. But if you engage that same body with the understanding, with the help of the scriptures, that you can use your body to engage, you can use all your senses to be engaged in devotional service, and you start to doing that with your body, with your mind and intelligence, accepting only those things that are favorable to the execution of devotional service and rejecting all those things that are unfavorable to the execution of devotional service. You start regulating your life with scriptural injunctions. You will see yourself gradually coming on board. You see? And this analogy is one of our very great analogy. The human form of life is a favorable boat. It's a suitable boat. Suitable because there is equal amount of suffering. There is equal amount of enjoyment. Every enjoyment on this body is interrupted by some kind of suffering. Therefore, it brings you back to your senses. You're trying to lose your senses. Arrangement is made for you to come back to your senses so that you can be on the neutral ground and think properly. If I do this, these are going to be the consequences. So let me not do it. You have opportunity to apply your intelligence. You have your rational faculty is activated. So you have opportunity to apply the intelligence to filter what is not good from what is good. So if you are unable to take advantage of it, then you are the killer of the soul. Atmaha, the killer of the soul. If you are unable to take advantage of it, you are the killer of the soul. Killer of the soul means you plunge yourself deeper into more reactionary cycles of suffering, birth, old age, disease, and death, birth, old age, disease. For the soul, which is eternal, supposed to enjoy in the kingdom of God with God, coming to take different bodies, lower bodies, lifetime after lifetime, is killing. That is what is referred to the soul being killed. Otherwise, the soul is eternal, can never be killed. The killing of the soul means engaging the soul in lower propensities, engaging the body presently occupied by the soul in lower propensities. That means giving the chance for the soul to go down to more lower species. That is the meaning of the killer, the soul being killed. So let us take advantage of these reminders. But we are already fortunate. We are in contact with the scriptures. We are in contact with Krishna. We are in contact with the representatives of Krishna. We are in contact with the temples. We are, by the mercy of His divine grace, like A.C. Bhakti Swami Prabhupada and his disciples. We are in contact with the whole process of devotional service. We have opportunity to chant, to hear about the pastimes and the activities, about the form of the Lord, so that we can regain our remembrance of the Lord. Everything is within God. And from wherever you are, you can learn the art and science of remembering God. The hearing and chanting, all is to bring you to the point of remembering Krishna. And these facilities are available. If we take advantage of it, it doesn't matter whether you are in Ghana or you are in Nigeria or you are in India or you are in America. You can hear about the pastimes of the Lord, get cleansed, get connected to the point where you constantly hear the flute of the Lord, and your liberation is guaranteed. Flute inviting you to come and be part of. You see, everything is within the Lord, and the Lord is within everything. In that understanding, you learn the science of engaging everything in the service of the Lord. And for you, the Lord is never lost, and you are never lost to Him. You have a chance of reviving your eternal relationship with Him. So this is it. Failure to take advantage is to apply for going into lower species. Hare Krishna. Someone has some contributions to make in this connection based on this verse. Otherwise, we'll go to the next verse. And the next verse, Rasavan.
Hare Krishna. Arabia Satamam Masal Lada Bodo Pive Pita Neika Traste Suti Matai Vista Buri Iva Sodara. Translation. Thus, endowed with the development of consciousness from the 7th month after his conception, the child is tossed downwards by the airs that press the embryo during the weeks preceding delivery. Like the worms born of the same filthy abdominal cavity, he cannot remain in one place. Purport. At the end of the 7th month, the child is moved by the bodily air and does not remain in the same place. For the entire uterine system becomes slackened before delivery. The worms have been described here as Sodara. Sodara means born of the same mother. Since the child is born from the womb of the mother, and the worms are also born of fermentation within the womb of the same mother, under the circumstances, the child and the worms are actually brothers. We are very anxious to establish universal brotherhood among human beings, but we should take into consideration that even the worms are our brothers, what to speak of other living entities. Therefore, we should be concerned about all living entities. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. The worm is our brother. Well, born from the same womb. Born from the same womb. And we're there together. They were there before you, even they senior you over there. And you come through and you pass. So this is universal brotherhood. So if this is the case, let us see that all living entities are our brothers. And failure to see that is inattentiveness. That's why I used to ask, in this, there are Nigerian cockroaches, there are Nigerian goats, there are Nigerian cows, there are Nigerian dogs, there are Ghanaian egots, there are Ghanaian elephants. But these are brothers. What do we do to them? Do we care for them? When we are making budget, do we remember them? We remember the monkeys, the Ghanaian monkeys. Do we remember them? Is there any budget allocation for them? We think that they are not living entities, so they are not part of our country. So all our focus is just few human beings, and that is all. But human beings are not alone. In the country, there are lizards, there are cockroaches. The population of ants in Ghana is more than that of the human beings, many, many times over. The population of fishes, the population of snakes, all are very great, but we don't see them. We don't see them. But if we fast forward it, by the same token, there are higher beings than us. In this cosmology, there are beings who are higher than us. They see us like the ants, the way we see the cockroaches, the way we see the wall geckos, the way we see the lizard, that is the way they see us. There are beings who are gigantic and are universally very powerful, who have a lot of mystic potencies above us. So if they look at us and they see the way we are living, to them, our type of life, no matter how sophisticated it looks, is very miserable. Because they are living in full opulences, full of mystic powers. So if they look down on us the way we look down on all living entities, the way we are insensitive about all the other living entities, the way we are careless about all other living entities, then what will happen to us? The importance we feel about ourselves is only our own cup of tea. So let us be more liberal in our thinking. All living entities born in any geographical area, they are part of that place. And therefore provisions should be made for them. Yes, on all levels. Instead of killing the animals in the forest, yes, they do forest preservation. They are trying to do it. And they preserve the animals and the various creatures and provide for them. And if that is going on, then it will be wonderful. If that is going on, even the snakes will not be antagonistic to human beings. If you have in your country, there's a provision for all the cats. You arrange a festival for cats and provide food and provide accommodation for them where they can hide and come out and run and play. They will only be playing. And if there's food for them, they will only be playing and eating. There's no antagonism. The snakes will be playing and eating in their own corner. No antagonism. But we have turned the society into a violent society whereby the human beings ourselves, we don't even trust ourselves. We kill ourselves violently, even physically. We are so territorial in our consciousness that we are dividing the world among ourselves. This is a Ghanaian, this is a Nigerian. If you cross this border, you are in trouble. If you come here, you have overstayed. This is not your country. We, as evolved souls, we are not ethnocentric, neither are we geocentric. We are soul-centric. Soul-centric means we believe that Jivara Swarupa, Krishna Nitya Das, Mama Ivam So Jival, okay, Jiva Buddha Sanatana. We are all eternal fragmental parts and parcels of God. If we can put that into practice, our relationship with ourselves interpersonally, our relationship with all other living entities will become very, very sweet. It will be symbiotic relationship. We begin to, at that point, realize the universal industrial arrangement made by God. God has made a universal industrial arrangement whereby one living entity is dependent on another living entity for sustenance. Natural universal industrial arrangement. The oxygen, for instance, that is being breathed in by the human beings is a byproduct of the plants. The plants breathe out oxygen and the human beings breathe it in. The human beings breathe out carbon dioxide, the plants breathe it in. This is a universal symbiotic industrial arrangement whereby there is mutual interdependency between one living entity and another. So if we only know our quota and act according to the Sabbasia principle, everybody limiting himself to his quota, you will see the human beings have their quota. Their quota is not to run after all the things of this world. Their quota is not to gather physical properties. That is not human beings' quota. Human beings are evolved beings who are supposed to educate, to elevate, and to liberate. You educate yourself, educate others about the goal of life, about your real identity. You educate yourself and educate others. Then in that way, you are elevating them from lower level to higher level. And eventually they get liberated from material entanglement altogether. So the quota of the human beings is to educate, to elevate, and to liberate. Yet, what are we doing? We are in a hard struggle for existence, trying to maximize our eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending is not the business of a human being. If we are doing our quota, if you are acting according to our quota, Tamar, I'm telling you, no one will suffer. We begin to see the natural arrangement made by the Lord, whereby in the womb, the child in the womb did not make the arrangement for the placenta to be attached to the mother's womb. It is not the child's arrangement, neither is it the mother's arrangement. It's nature's arrangement. Nature is working under Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Please help me. You mentioned the quota of the human being is to elevate, educate, and one word.
To educate, to elevate, and to liberate.
Liberate. Okay, thank you very much.
You see, so that we are giving up our own quota and we are in somewhere else. And if you analyze critically, all the problems in this world is because of human beings not doing their quota. It is human beings. Human beings are the problem of this world because they have given up their quota and they are trying to struggle with the quotas of the animals. They are using the human machine, which is a very elevated machine, for lower propensities. And for that, they are creating complications. And imagine, they are the ones that the animals do not have hospitals.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
The animals do not have places for stress management. The animals do not have, all the complexities that human beings are having. The animals do not commit suicide.
They don't even have massaging solutions.
The human beings, with all their advancements, they are committing suicide. They are going to hospital like anything. All kinds of diseases are visiting them, and everything complicated is happening to the human being because they have abandoned their quota of educating, elevating, and liberating, and they are now in the hard struggle for existence, for maximizing eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. They are using the higher human machine for lower propensities. Misuse of the human form of life. The human form of life is to educate, elevate, and liberate, and in the process, go back home, back to God automatically. We ignore the automatic arrangement of the Lord.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
A cow struggling for flesh. You don't see a tiger struggling for rice. The tree produces fruit, but does not use the fruit. This is a natural arrangement. The principle of living is to live for others. But we are trying to be selfish, and we are struggling very hard to gather till we lose our sight, we lose our individual, we lose our focus, and we are implicating ourselves into repeated birth and death until we are in the womb of a mother now. Hare Krishna, Chitra Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I think concerning the quota and the budgets, some of the animals are indirectly under budgets of the human beings, like the cats and the dogs and the goats and sheep and cows, because definitely the human beings make arrangements to eat them, so they provide some leaves and other things for them, except some snakes and cockroaches who are not being provided under the budget. Let's put that one aside. Concerning Prabhupada's statement that the worm is a brother to the embryo, to the soul inside the womb. If that is the case, therefore there is brotherhood over there, then I would say that the worms are not only produced therefore the worm is a daughter or maybe a son to indirectly to the woman. And I would say that the worms are not only produced in woman's body. Men also, sometimes we produce worms, we found worms inside our body. And we put medicines to kill them. We take medicines to kill them, like aborting a baby. So in that way, that one is also killing of a soul. So in that sense, what is the reactions, or do we suffer reactions for that?
Brothers. We have created a situation whereby the worm has to appear in a way that we have to kill them. The worms, they can take birth through different systems, They are living entities, as we read before, the ones that are born through perspiration and all others. So eternally, all souls are part and parcel of Krishna. That is the whole point. So, but the duty of the worm in the womb and the worms that are in our bodies, their duty is to remind us that this world is not our home, that we have found ourselves in the wrong place by dint of our activities. We are in the wrong environment. We should prepare. We should not try to sit down here, become comfortable prisoners, and to enjoy the enjoyment we are looking for here. We are not going to get it. They will bite us. They will bite our bodies to let us know that this is not our place. We should use the body as a machine to do devotional service and go back home, back to God. So the devotional service of the worm is to bite the living entity, and even the child in the womb. The worm bites him, even though they are brothers. They bite him to let him realize that you are coming to the wrong environment. You are not supposed to be here. Yeah? You should remember yourself and get out. If we allow you to go out of this womb, don't forget yourself. Don't forget your real identity as a spirit soul. You should do the bonus service and get out of here. So they are reminders. They are there to remind, just like old age, disease, and death. They are all reminders that this world is not our home. Old age is not our enemy. Disease is not our enemy. Death is not our enemy. Birth is not our enemy. All are reminders that we are in the wrong place. We are spiritual souls. We are not the bodies. The spirit soul is not supposed to come to this prison house. The spirit soul should be in the spiritual world. What are you coming here to do? You are taking the body, you are identifying with the body now. I bite the body, you say you bite, I bite you. I'm biting the body to let you know that this is not your place. Realize yourself and get out of here. This is the duty, the devotional service, or the worm in the stool, or the worm in the stomach, or the worm in the womb, or the worm that is being born by a human being, or the worm that is being born in the toilet, or from the stool of a human being. All like to remind us that this is not our home. That is their devotional service, and they are doing it perfectly. So let us tolerate them and learn the lesson that they are trying to give us so that we can do our part. We should resume. The study of the Bhagavatam is the beginning of resuming our own quota. We want to act according to our quota so that we can elevate ourselves, we can educate ourselves, elevate ourselves, and liberate ourselves through devotional service. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
very much
Prabhu.
for being there for us today. Thank you very much. Which verse do we read last?
10. Verse 10.
10.
Verse 10.
Yeah,
Oh, we're supposed to let us read 11 and go without much comments. Time is going against us. Let's read 11. Let me read itself.
Okay.
Tamana Risibhita Sapta Badri Kritanjali Stuvita Tam Viklava Vaya Vacha Yenodare Arpitaha. The living entity in this frightful condition of life, bound by 7 layers of material ingredients, prays with folded arms, appealing to the Lord who has put him in that condition. Appealing to the Lord who has put him in that condition. Who is part of the Lord? The Paramatma feature of the Lord, awarding reactions to our fruitive activities of the rebellious soul. So he has put him there. He has put him there, but by his arrangement, he can also liberate him. Because he is potent. He is supervising, he knows everything. He has put him there. If he becomes a devotee, that's why the Lord again said, abandon, surrender unto me, I will protect you from all sin. If we change our consciousness, if we withdraw from Samprasajabuga, as in Bhagavad Gita 5:22, Yehi Samprasajabuga, Duka yo naya ebate, adi antavata kunte anate suramate Buddha. If we become intelligent, if our Buddha become Ramate, if we become cleansed of our contaminated intelligence and stop trying to indulge in sense gratification and begin to engage in devotional service, our journey of going back home, back to Godhead has begun. So the Lord who arranged for us to be there will also arrange for us to come out. The arrangement is already there, but we have to take it. So from this verse to verse 22 or 21, we are going to see the prayers of the living entities, while in the womb. Not all souls. It is only those who are fortunate among them. The unfortunate ones will not remember to pray there. Only the fortunate ones who have gotten purified by dint of these hard situations, they are the ones, qualified ones to go higher. They do the prayers. So we are going to see those prayers from verse 12 to 21. So go and read about them, meditate on them, try to learn some lessons from them so that when we meet tomorrow, it will be a sweet conversation. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for being there today. We very deeply appreciate your sacrifice of time, energy, and data and everything to be there for this class. Thank you very much. But before we go, we want to give a small reminder that today by 4 o'clock Nigerian time, which is 3 o'clock Ghana time, His Holiness Bhattacharya Damodara Maharaj is coming on board on the platform of Bhaktivedanta Academy for Culture and Education to take us on Vaishnava culture. This is day 2. Vaishnava behavior in formal venues. That is the title. These are very, very relevant, active, operational topics that we should apply on a day-to-day basis. So we should come on board so that we make it interactive and let it be sweet. Hare Krishna. At least more than 30, 40 devotees. The time is
Krishna
3 o'clock Ghana time, 4 o'clock Nigerian time.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Tomorrow lecture, because of the Sunday's program, I think we shifted it last week. So Nigerian time, 9 a.m. to 11. So we should have to do the same.
Prabhuji, we shifted it like that yesterday, last time, because the Bhakti Sastri students did not come for class.
Okay.
They did not come for class.
Okay.
That was why.
Okay.
So the only thing adjustment we can make is that we can start by 9:30, and let us make it our standard that 9:30 we start our classes, not 10 again. So we can gain 30 minutes. 9:30 to 11:30.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
11:30. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes to the time for the seminar. We are going to send the links to these our platforms so that we can all take advantage of that association.
So please, that 9:30 is for Nigeria, right? That means 8:30 in Ghana.
Yeah.
No, 9:30 in Ghana. Because the Baptist Assembly will start from 7 o'clock to 9. And a little bit overflow. So we start from 9:30 to 11:30 Ghana time. Nigeria time is 10:30 to 12:30. Okay? Hare Krishna. So please come on board for seminar. We are going to send the link to this group maybe 5 minutes to the time. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Jaya
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya.
Ki jai.
Yeah.
Chakravatarubiacha kripa sindhubhya sevacha patitanam bhuvanebhyo vaishnavebhyo.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakapatarubiacha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam bhuvanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.
Go enjoy yourself, Prabhu, for the rest of the day. Hare Krishna. See you tomorrow. See you, Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Tama Krishna, are we seeing you today? Tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. Salikaji, thank you very much. Chitra Prabhu, thank you very much. And